I was expecting lightning and angels and trumpets in the sky, and all I got was a bunch of trees and panda geese flying in the air. And I thought, how funny is this?
It just took me to like a really heavy place. I struggled with that, and I knew I had to either vomit or cry. And so finally I ended up being able to cry and really let it go.
It was a completely overwhelming sense that there was something much bigger and that I was, a small little ant in this much bigger divine organization of the universe, and that I needed to pay attention to that.
It's gotten me in touch with my spirit, which I had no concept of before. It's opened my heart in a way that I never had it open before, ever. I committed to her that she would be a teacher of mine for my life.
The source of the experience of which these people speak is not a faith, a belief in things unseen. It is simply this: an herbal brew made in the jungles of Peru by native shamans. They call it ayahuasca, which means vine of the soul.
It's a tea, or what herbalists would call a decoction, meaning a strong tea. It's always made from two plants, one of which contains the hallucinogen, dimethyltryptamine, or DMT. DMT is what I call a true psychedelic. It's one of the class that includes LSD, psilocybin, mescaline.
In the Amazon, ayahuasca is a legally recognized sacred medicine. Indigenous people have used it for centuries to heal physical and psychospiritual ills. It's an essential part of the culture, woven into the fabric of their lives. Beyond the Amazon, the legality of ayahuasca is a gray area.
The globalization of ayahuasca is a challenge for modern drug control authorities. The people who are using it outside of its traditional context are not the criminal element that is associated traditionally with illegal drug use. These are people like my parents, my friends, doctors, lawyers, people in the health field who are passing along knowledge word of mouth, and it seems to be spreading.
In the last 10 years, thousands have tried ayahuasca, seeking healing and spiritual growth.
The notion that there is a spiritual component to healing has been totally excised from biomedicine. Spirituality and healing? What does spirituality have to do with healing?
We live in a culture that's spiritually very deprived, very empty. We live in a culture that's very material-based. In other words, we live in a culture that does not give human beings what they really need. That leaves a huge hole in people.
Most people in North America and the Western world are not as connected as people who live in the jungle and live in nature, every day, 365 days a year.
Shaman Guillermo Arevalo believes everyone can reclaim this connection through ayahuasca, which he calls a plant teacher. He says the vine of the soul actually teaches you what you need to know.
Una noche que he tomado ayahuasca, recibí 3 palabras muy importantes, como una misión. La luz vino, entró a mi frente, se fue a mi corazón y me dijo, reciba, aprenda y comparta.
What is there to share about ayahuasca? Can it really heal our minds and spirits? 2 people are about to journey to the Amazon to find out. Rob works as an accountant for a media company. It's a good job and pays the bills.
It's not something you walk away from on a day-to-day basis feeling satisfied, for the most part.
How long long's the flight?
It's around, I think it's 8 hours into Lima, and then another 3 hours to Iquitos. If everything goes well, I'll be a completely different person next Thursday.
Will we be able to still recognize you?
Oh yeah, I'll just be glowing. I will. Going down to Peru at this point in my life makes a lot of sense to me, partially because I'm now entering middle age. And there's a lot of reevaluating that I believe should go on. I mean, if you're uncertain of what you believe in, then you have to start questioning all things that are currently in your life and seeing maybe another path to take.
Kirsty is a doctor of naturopathic medicine.
You have a referred pain pattern up on your left side.
Is it pinched nerve in my neck?
Here.
Yeah.
I've just started as a healer myself, and I think it's a good time for me in my life to go down and experience this, because if it's in any way, shape, or form going to be a part of my life, whether academically or in terms of I'm able to use it with patients, I would never do that unless I myself have been through the experience.
Are you ready to go, Rob?
Let's do it. In a nutshell, what is missing in my life is spirituality. I can say that with almost complete certainty. We had very, very slight religious upbringing that just seemed to have no foundation or no basis for me in my life. It's not that I don't understand that the best way to live is to be right and be right with others, but I don't have a guiding light per se.
While Rob has never been to the Amazon, the rainforest has already shaped Kirsty's life.
I did a lot of traveling, both for work and in a volunteer capacity. And I also was a guide in the Amazon and was exposed to an enormous amount of plant medicine. I've read an awful lot about ayahuasca, and I'm just really interested in its implications for a lot of people with severe chronic disease. From what I understand, it really can open up a lot of energetic barriers that everyone has. And if those barriers are opened up, you can live more optimally.
But if we hit any holes, seriously, the whole thing is going to be like bang.
In the past, Rob has used recreational drugs to search for greater meaning in his life, without success.
I guess my biggest fear is simply just getting high again for 2 or 3 days and really not having it come to any fruition. It can't be anything remotely similar to recreational use. That's what I'm sick of, and I certainly don't have to go to Peru to experience it.
Are you actually holding the stuff like
No.
you need me?
Let's get this ready.
Perfecto.
I do feel some trepidation around what I will experience and what I might discover about my own energetic blockages. But about ayahuasca, I'm not going through this life and not doing ayahuasca. There is no way.
After a long trip, Rob and Kirsty finally arrive at the rustic retreat on the edge of the jungle. Guillermo was there to greet them, along with an international group of fellow travelers.
Esto más que todo para así ayudar a la gente a curar sus malestares físicas, psicológicas y espiritual, utilizando ayahuasca y las plantas medicinales.
Dave, a healer from Canada, began his apprenticeship with Guillermo 5 years ago.
As soon as I started, I thought this is exactly what my whole life was about. I knew that this was my life path, but I still had doubt whether I could actually accomplish it. And my first experience with Guillermo was extremely, extremely profound, very, very deep. I remember him saying to me that I was David and I was going to have to face Goliath, and Goliath being the fear inside of me.
Entonces ahí he podido ver que David tiene buen corazón, buen espíritu, la voluntad de aprender, y por eso tuve la voluntad de enseñar o entregar una parte de mi conocimiento a David. Y hasta ahorita sigue adelante.
Guillermo has been a shaman to the Shipibo people most of his life, but only recently opened a retreat for Westerners.
Creo que es importante hacerlo porque los occidentales han perdido su raíz cultural, han perdido el conocimiento del uso de la medicina natural o tradicional. El nuirao, o sea, plantas para el amor, es más que todo cuando uno tiene mala suerte en el amor.
This is mostly when people have bad luck in love.
Se adquiere la energía del amor para que uno pueda ser apreciado, querido por otras personas. Eso necesita David.
No translation needed.
La liana de ayahuasca.
This is ayahuasca.
Ya tiene un año. De acá a unos 3 años más ya se puede utilizar. La ayahuasca te hace conocer. Ayahuasca es un medio para que al hombre le pueda hacer conocer los diferentes niveles del universo. La fuente de creación nos hace ver de dónde viene el hombre, ¿no? Que procede del espacio. De dónde viene la energía, que es de la luz. De dónde nosotros estamos formados. Entonces, hay esa relación de la naturaleza, energía y de luz.
All organisms on the planet are parasites on plants because plants are the only thing that make their own food, and they make their food out of sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide. And because of that, they are running the show.
I'm extremely excited about tonight. We're at the birthplace where the plants are from, and just being under an accomplished master like Guillermo has to be just a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Throughout the day, I think I went through a lot of different emotions and thoughts about it. You know, some of which were sort of anxiety. Am I a bit too tired to be doing this at the moment? But I actually feel, as I have since I arrived, really pretty peaceful. So hopefully that bodes well for me.
As darkness falls, all who wish to partake in the ayahuasca ceremony join Guillermo and his assistant curandero, Francois.
When I was asked for my intention, I felt I didn't really have one, or maybe I hadn't given it enough thought. And it kind of concerned me a little bit, thinking that here I was in this great center for healing, and I didn't come down with a specific problem.
My intention, it was a hard decision because there are a lot of things that I would like to work on, but the thing I elected to sort of work on was it's difficult for me to see as yet how I can integrate this on a professional level. I spoke to Guillermo and just said, can you help me to understand? Because I feel that intuitively that there's a reason that I'm here. I was aware of many things happening all the time because all of my senses were so heightened.
You sit there and you wonder whether or not it's taking effect, and then as soon as you allow the chanting in, it pretty much takes you.
Normally at the beginning the energy is a little heavy. So you need to clear that. So you start to sing and you bring light. Doing this, it pushes out the negative energies and it clears the space. It makes people purge.
Purging prepares the mind and body for the inner journey ahead. The chanting then carries people into a realm beyond the 5 senses.
This person becomes you. You become him. You know, you create that relationship with the chanting. There is a link. Because you are such in a high state of consciousness, you become super aware of the other. And the other becomes super aware of your energy. You can see it. It manifests in your own visual state.
The chanting was transformational. I actually don't even have the words to describe that.
I could feel plants quivering, and I could feel everything breathing, and I could feel the earth groaning, and I could hear every single bird, and just this blissed out, insanely powerful connection with the earth and with plants and with animals.
I felt a lot of joy.
The feeling is just sublime. I don't know how to explain it. Almost every little thing you do with your body, a simple head stretch, a deep breath, just feels so life-affirming because you seem to be in complete harmony with everything around you. You just know that you're connected to something larger.
Most religions make a great deal about how you must have faith. You must believe in God. You must believe in what we tell you, even though there's no evidence to support it, no evidence for what we're telling you, but you must have faith. What's interesting about ayahuasca is you don't have to have faith. It's the perfect tool for skeptics. Don't believe me, don't believe what anybody tells you. Take it, have the experience, evaluate it for yourself, make of it what you will.
Last night, because we've been looking forward to it for quite a few weeks now, I had a lot of expectations built up, and the ceremony itself was very impressive, but I think I didn't have a strong reaction to the ayahuasca itself. It would be nice if it was a little stronger, and I don't mean to be cocky in saying that, because it's not for amusement or entertainment, but I'm ready to kind of go a little deeper into myself to see what else comes out.
I think the big difference between the use of ayahuasca today and the use of other substances in the 1960s is a very strong understanding of the importance of ritual and the ceremonial element in fostering a therapeutic or spiritual experience. It's not a party drug in the way that other substances have been used. The wisdom of learning through plants is a cultural tradition that goes back hundreds, if not thousands of years.
For me, my experience of botanical medicine is very technical and medical and scientific, and we do learn about the energetics of plants, but it's much more dominated by the science. And so I've always reached out to have opportunities to integrate both, and so that's my goal.
You see the healing aspect of this medicine? What can you relate about it?
In terms of ayahuasca, I need to do it many more times to be able to speak to that, because I can't integrate that or apply that with other people until I've integrated it with me. I just can't.
I think it's not for everybody. You know, I think ayahuasca is a very powerful medicine, but it has to be placed and used in a proper way. But if they don't know how to do that, it can create a psychological shock that will leave a trauma.
At a ceremony 15 years ago, Francois used ayahuasca to help kick an addiction to heroin.
I had this particular ceremony where I could see my veins crying and my body expressing the pains that he had received through the use of addiction and needles. And lots of cleaning, you know, in my head had to be done.
Addiction comes from a sense of deficient emptiness. And trying to complete yourself from the outside is the essence of addiction. With ayahuasca, one has an opportunity to experience oneself as whole and complete. If you can actually get that you're whole and complete, what is there to be filled from the outside anymore? There's just no need for it. Ayahuasca can help people see that in 2 or 3 ceremonies, if it's the appropriate shamanic leader and if it's the right environment. Well, that is a potential to heal addictions.
I think ayahuasca has 2 functions. One is self-discovery and trying to understand better who you are. And also it helps you to connect with the invisible world, with the spirit world. It could be related to nature, the meaning of God, having a clearer sense of what it means for you in your life. So it helps you to redefine yourself in relationship to that.
Ayahuasca is used for many reasons. For a curandero like Dave, ayahuasca is a teacher of the healing powers of plants.
My home? Please take off your shoes before you come to my home, please. Just joking. Ayahuasca is in many ways like the key to the door that allows you into the plant teacher world. Ayahuasca allows you to access the other plant teachers in a more profound way. A plant teacher is, the best way to look at it is you look at a plant as a being, as you would as a friend. Each plant has a personality, as each human does. You take on the traits of a plant, and plants are very sensitive and very intuitive. And, in healing, you need to be very sensitive and very intuitive. So we take these plants, to learn from them and in a way to become them. I came here with the intention of, gaining more strength in my work. So I'm on a diet now with a bunch of different plants and trees to give me more strength and more protection. It smells so beautiful. It's a mix of 25, 30 different plants. I drink it every day. It really breaks down the body at the beginning to open up. Feel a little bit, my body feels a little bit, out of balance and a little bit weak. But the most important thing is I feel good in my mind.
After a day of reflection, Rob and Kirsty return for their second ceremony.
Again, I was just wanting to experience so much so quickly. It was probably overestimating my level, what ayahuasca wanted to show me at that time. In a way, I kind of wanted to take more, but in a way I didn't. You have to respect ayahuasca. She was telling me something.
It was totally different from the night prior. I was restless and sort of agitated. A part of ayahuasca is the purging aspect. I, sort of had always just thought that meant vomiting, but it can be a lot of different bodily things going on and noises and belching and it was unbelievable. I got cagey kind of, and I tried to leave the room entirely actually at one point, but I sort of got stuck standing there. It was frustrating kind of. When I did go outside, I found Rob. I left all of that hideous, insane cacophony of noise. It was hard to focus. I would zone in on the chanting and I'd be like, whoa, yeah. This is outer limits.
It's like dueling, purging in there.
It was like a movie with Jim Carrey in it. Okay.
Oh my God.
We saw the sky and it was just staggering. It was just astonishing how beautiful it was. And I saw a huge shooting star, which blew my mind.
And then we left. And when I came back to my cabin, I kind of laid down and I closed my eyes. And like a lot of times when you close your eyes, you see some light imagery. And then it began to swirl together. And it created this little eddy right in front of my field of vision. And then bit by bit, little images would appear out of this eddy. Come out and go back in. Come out and go back in. When I was ready to write off the evening as somewhat of a rejection or a negative, she pulled me right back and then put me to sleep.
it's really a therapy. You have one ceremony, it's like going to psychotherapy for 2 years.
Colin from Vancouver attended ayahuasca ceremonies for a year before coming to Peru. He's hoping to heal a troubled marriage.
For me, I just want to be the father that I know I can be and the husband I can be and support my wife as family comes first, right?
We had been on and off and are continuing in kind of a power struggle stage. We have done couples therapy counseling, but it doesn't quite, I mean, it works for a little bit, but there's a deeper issue.
When I came here, I knew I wanted to go a little deeper. For me, the one word that came up was acceptance. Acceptance of myself, acceptance of my past, and acceptance of my wife was probably the number one thing. To her, that was the big blockage in our relationship.
There is something that's obviously keeping us together, but there is some kind of something we keep coming up against.
I realized that I've had this sense of sadness within me affecting multiple things from past relationships, people that have passed in my life, to sadness around things around my childhood and being unhappy with my sort of place in the world. So I'm sad about it at times.
After each ceremony, Guillermo encourages participants to talk about their experiences.
I feel myself attached with a bit of a dark spirit, which came to me last night, and it's all linked to an ex-girlfriend who has died. She's since died, but she's still, there was lots of love there. There's a lot of lightness, but her dark side is sort of still hanging on to me. She was a very manipulative woman, and it was almost the first woman in my life.
Ayahuasca es una planta que te da un proceso de limpieza, ¿no? Tanto física, tanto psicológica como espiritual. Si tu ex esposa que murió era manipuladora, trae esos sentimientos, ¿no? Pero esos sentimientos son ya de limpieza, ¿no? Es un proceso de limpieza.
It's very clear. Gracias.
David.
I woke up this morning, very early and still very high with the ayahuasca, and I had some nightmares, a lot of sweating during the night, almost like my body's trying to move it through.
Entonces hay que trabajar un poco más profundo para encontrar qué cosa es. O sea, hay que tomar un poco más esta noche. Cuando uno toma mucho, se acerca la muerte, la presencia de la energía de la muerte. Pero no es una muerte física con ayahuasca, es una muerte simbólica, ¿no? Del miedo, principalmente del miedo. La muerte del ego, la muerte de las cosas pasadas. Pero llega un momento de que uno no puede resistir, acepta la muerte. Ahí se rompe al miedo y entras en tranquilidad, en paz y en amor.
Professionally, in terms of work, as a naturopathic doctor, I sort of feel confused. To employ this medicine, even in a limited capacity, probably takes a lot of personal journeying, period, for me. I need to talk it through with Dave, how he operates, because the ceremony is crucial and the training is crucial.
Ayahuasca and powder, eh? Ah, yeah. Ayahuasca and chacruna. No necesito el shaman. Necesite, muy bien, yeah. It's important for people to know that the ayahuasca acts as a teacher and it allows you to discover yourself through your own knowledge, through your own experience. These are all the plants we use for bathing here. Bring love, attract love, good luck. Oh, yeah. And all these medicines up here are all for men to get a little extra energy.
Oh, it's
it means 7 times. 7 times per night.
The other thing that Dave says was that ayahuasca is going to meet you where you're at in terms of what needs to happen and potentially to go very deep into your own fears and challenges and personal growth. I think next time I'm ready to go. Even if it's challenging, I'm ready to sort of have a a bit more and go deeper and just face what I find.
What Kirsty and Rob will face on this, their third ceremony, is unknown and unknowable.
The Mysterium Tremendum is, as you can tell from the term, a tremendous mystery. It is at the core of all true religious or mystical experience, the feeling of being at one with the universe, and yet it's the experience that most religions are frantic to deny. It's not for the ordinary person. It's something, the interpretation has to come through the church, through the priesthood, through the hierarchy or whatever, and we'll tell you what this means. And I think that's one of the interesting things about ayahuasca. It gives you a tool to actually approach this phenomenon experimentally. Some people wait all their lives and spend years in meditation and all sorts of aesthetic experiences and never have a mystical experience. You can be just a kind of an ordinary schmuck, and under the right circumstances, psychedelics can trigger this kind of experience.
Just experiencing everything possible that's in life at any given moment. And you're just taking it all in without trying to state how you feel. Just let it be and listen to everything come in. And it's just, it awes you in the silence.
Last night was just the culmination of finally being at home down here. Good medicine, and just listening to Guillermo and everyone chant. It was everything that it could possibly be, I think. It was just perfect. It's my strongest visions at the very beginning were like a multi-level dimension. And it's like a door being opened to this, but it's constantly being opened. It's constantly being opened. And it never goes away because it's new again. And so it's nature just showing you. At times I feel like she could actually control my head and tilt it different ways and look around. And so I would look at Guillermo. And it's just, I don't know how. But it was so nice, and it was maternal even when looking at Guillermo. Suddenly, I wasn't a younger person than Guillermo. I was older, looking at him like he was a child, and you were so proud of his child. Look at what he's doing. She was saying that as she looked at Guillermo. Look at all he can do. And it was just a sense of awe and renewed innocence all the time. But that was partly from her, and it's the most spiritual thing I've ever felt in my whole life. Well, I could tell Kirsty wasn't quite having as great a time as I was.
The ceremony last night was exceptionally hard. I just couldn't get a nice, peaceful vision or experience. There were just moments where I just couldn't even bear it. Like, it was just unbelievably hard. I felt a lot of dark things, and this sounds very dramatic, but it was pretty demonic. Like, there were some pretty, terrifying moments where, I thought I was gonna die. I thought I was gonna shut down as a self-protection mechanism, because I was way, way beyond dealing with it. And then it literally was like a miracle because Dave appeared.
What happens in a strong experience with ayahuasca like that is that you lose control. And ego is about having control. You can't control ayahuasca. You can work with it, but if you try to control it and get into a power struggle with ayahuasca, that's where she's going to come on stronger to try to have that egoic death or the spiritual death.
There were emotional sort of components to it to do with my family. People would come to me, different people in my life whom I love, would come to me and try to communicate to me and then would be sucked away. And I would try to communicate with them and then it would be sucked away. It was truly, truly indescribable, the horror.
Just don't want to block.
I was so terrified of losing him because he was like a lifeline. And I was like, I will drag myself. I don't care what it takes. And he helped me get over there. And then he did chanting. He was doing Reiki.
She's lost in this like great big vast sea. So I'm there to throw her a line in a way because she was getting drowned in her, her experience. I'm there to find her path and find the way that she got there. And so I, through the chanting, find her and then bring her back in her body and back and with her connection, and then the healing will start to happen under its own process.
If that isn't the most humbling thing I have ever done. I hope my ego just stays away and leaves me alone. Just to piss off. I don't want to do that. I don't want to deal with it. And Dave said, okay, you're gonna go to Guillermo. And I was like, can I crawl? So I dragged myself. He addressed my issues at multiple different levels through the Icaros, through chanting. Oh, I was so grateful because they didn't let me go until I was able to cope. Like they passed me down the chain. And I just cried and cried because I felt this insane level of gratitude. Like, I don't even have words for it. I felt this, a kind of love that I don't think I've ever felt in my life. It was not from here.
I would turn slightly and just kind of let her know I was there. But that's all you can do. I mean, you can't verbalize that sort of thing. I let her know that I was aware of what she was going through.
Because we really sort of bonded, he was quite close to me sometimes, so his bald head was like, so if I didn't know him, I would have been like, dude, go have your party like 3 feet to the side. Like, what are you doing? But I was like, I was comforted by Rob's presence. He just was awesome. He just was like, he was there the whole time. We went outside and it was dawn, so it was that magic time when everything's blue. And we kind of trotted around because we were just sort of used to being together. I really am so slow-mo. Slow motion.
It takes so much out of you.
Oh.
It's crazy.
Oh my God. I was so glad, Rob, that you were there. That literally broke me open. Like, that literally annihilated me. I don't yet know what it means.
When you think you're gonna die, the part of the healing is that when you do come out of the experience, you're just happy to be alive. And that's the way we need to live every day of our life. Part of the enjoyment of living life is just be grateful for your life.
Is there a key insight that you get after you've taken lots of ayahuasca? Well, it sounds trivial, but the insight is you don't know shit. We know very little about the way the world is put together, about how the universe really is, about our role in it, and what's really going on. You know, you monkeys only think you're running the show. You know, you don't. And not only are you not running the show, you don't even know what the show is. So, be humble. Remember that you don't know much.
Integrating the insights learned from ayahuasca can be a difficult task. Colin is still working to heal the relationship with his wife, Nina.
Hi. Hi.
My wife is my soulmate, and I really do want to see that relationship reach its full potential. And it can be a rocky road. You know, it's got its ups and downs. It's not all bliss. It's a process, and you've been part of that process, a big part of that process. But I finally accepted things on a level that... I accepted things on a level that produce healing.
What he gets from ceremony is he really gets in touch with himself, of a place of acceptance of himself, acceptance of me, just letting go and not needing to control. And then it will last a month, and then it explodes into of not being happy and unhappy in this relationship, and complete opposite. I'm trying to just be accepting of it, but it's harder to completely accept it all, Colin, because I've did a lot of the same kind of stuff before. It's just gonna take some time till I see some, I actually see it as opposed to words. I think Colin sometimes feels that he just needs to live ayahuasca to ayahuasca, ceremony to ceremony, but you can't just live in that world. Your world is family or job, whatever it may be.
Well, the most important part of ayahuasca is the actual integration into your life. If you're not integrating that, there's no point to any of these spiritual paths. Unless we're doing that, we're wasting our time.
It was staggering, the extent to which I needed to process what happened in Peru. It wasn't until halfway through it that I realized with incredible certainty, like a lightning bolt, that I had almost missed the point entirely, which was that I wasn't there for work. I mean, the true purpose in terms of why I was there had nothing to do with any of those things. It was only for me. It was really hard for me to articulate what had happened and how I felt about it. I became defensive of it because I think the go-to thought for people is, oh, you're going getting high, psychotropic plants in the jungle, and it almost is a bit offensive if you have any experience with ayahuasca to think of it that way or refer to it in that way. So I would find it frustrating to sort of try to explain it to people.
So, what do you think the ayahuasca did for you? How did it change your perception of the world?
It just makes you realize that you're part of a much larger whole all the time, whether it's nature or the other people in your life.
You know, I'm kind of conflicted because it sounds like it's a shortcut to meditation or to spiritual awakening. And I'm not sure if that shortcut then has the long-term effects that, say, discipline and meditation would have, you know?
I have to think about that some more. I live alone. Everything I do is solitary for the most part. When I came back, it was on the tip of my tongue that I should be in closer contact with my family. Hey, how's it going? Excellent. I mean, you can't pretend to understand the bosom of ayahuasca cradling you unless you realize that you also have friends and family that mean a great deal to you. And you have to take the love that she shows you there and spread that around to your family and friends. Have a safe trip in tomorrow, and I'll see you in the morning. Cheers. We'll see you there. Take care. Even my brother, I mean, we're cut from the same cloth. We've always been kind of guarded, distant people. And just to see him almost gush this morning, it was just really nice.
Over the weeks and months following, I realized that I had never in my life felt vulnerable the way that I did in that moment, because I had never allowed it. And ultimately, what I realized is that to really receive love, you have to be able to be vulnerable. Ayahuasca gave me a different way of feeling in my body, a different way of being, a different way of viewing myself in the world. That it is staggering in that it allows you to sort of have a second chance at being yourself.
There's been a trend, I think, in Western medicine to recognize that alternative healing practices can be a useful adjunct to modern Western approaches. So I think ayahuasca can be a valuable component of treating such things as psychiatric conditions, depression, anxiety, addictions, things that modern Western medicine, I think, hasn't really done a good job of addressing.
I don't have a whole lot of optimism that within my lifetime, something like ayahuasca will be seriously employed. If it runs counter to people's innate prejudices, it's not incorporated. Heretical it is to say it in a medical context. And I don't need decades of research to tell me that something is good, when I know that it is.
How's it going, bro? I've seen you in like, how you doing? Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Good to see you.
This medicine is giving me my life path. I'll be doing this until I'm old and gray. That's never been a doubt in my mind. It's always been whether or not I could actually accomplish it.
Just thank Creator for nourishment and nourish our body, our spirit, our mind. Help us be strong and work in a good way with the medicine tonight.
It's given me a whole community of people. It's given me dear friends. It's given me a purpose. It's given me confidence, you know, just to be able to acknowledge that I can do something, you know, for people and helping people.
At Dave's Northern Wilderness Retreat, Rob and Kirsty meet for the first time since their trip to Peru.
I didn't know Rob before this, but I now know Rob in rather an intimate way.
I don't think I can. I took everything.
It was just like some kind of crazy natural wedding where we just, a union of our souls, and she was a little on the downside, I was a little on the up. But by the end of the evening, we were exactly the same place.
So we're all going to be drinking ayahuasca tonight. Trust yourself. You've heard the call. You felt the call to be here. Some people talk about, you know, the chemical. It's not a chemical. Ayahuasca is a spirit. So approach ayahuasca with, you know, obviously respect, with reverence, and also with gratitude. I'm always checking in with my intention. What is my intention for carrying this work? It has to be to share and to have that experience that you can get in the Amazon with traditional healers, but have it here. When we drink ayahuasca outside of the Amazon, we're not surrounded by the plants. So it's also a different experience, but you can still take the spirit of the plant with you. I have the spirit of the plants inside me and the spirit of the jungle, and I try to share that with the people.
Dave and others like him are spreading the gospel of ayahuasca through ceremonies around the world.
My intention is to help people in their healing. The healing of our communities here, the healing of the planet. This is why I think ayahuasca has left the Amazon.
We're impacting the planet in certain areas, like the Amazon is a good example. We're basically raping the Amazon, but maybe this is sending, you know, waves of alarm in some sense, through the rest of the biosphere. And in no sense am I invoking consciousness here, but it's a defensive strategy for self-preservation on the part of not only ayahuasca, but in some ways almost on behalf of everything that's living on the planet. Maybe this is the last desperate ploy of Gaia to sort of hit us upside the head and say, you know, wake up, you monkeys, you're really screwing things up.
I mean, if ayahuasca was to be described as a religion or a faith, it's all about the earth and all of the beings in it, but in an experiential way. It's one thing to intellectualize something, and it's another thing entirely to touch it and to experience other bigger energies that are intelligent.
It's very much like being held to the bosom of the mother of everything.
And it's very much about love, period.
Man don se de uin de, man don se de uin de, da roma yo jamange, da roma yo jamange, man don ga ya bida. Enge da roma yo ba, ane da roma yo ba, da roma yo jamange. Dan roma yo jamange, man don gan no wa yo na, gan no wa yo ba inge, zan ba da ma yo na.